Welcome to Conscious Clips and Our Time Together. Today we're going to talk about logical consequences. Teachers and parents are always asking me, what about consequences? When do we get to the consequences? In essence, they're saying, when can we nail them? When is enough enough? And this child is going to pay for the pain and disruption they've caused me and this classroom or our family. Those aren't consequences, those are punishments. There's a difference between punishment and consequences. Punishment rely on judgment. This that's happening is bad. You are guilty and deserve punishment. Consequences rely on reflection. Is what's going on okay with you? Are you getting truly what you wanted? If not, then change is necessary. So when we go to set up consequences, it's important for two things to occur. One, we want to send a message to children that every thought, every feeling, every choice has a consequence. And the second part is that you are responsible for what happened and you have the power to change it. The following is going to be a formula to help you get started with logical consequences. But now remember, with logical consequences, you've already done a number of things to help the child be successful before this is a skill that you decided to use. You've assertively told them what to do. You've taught them how to do it. You've given them choices to help them focus on being successful. And you've celebrated and encouraged them every step of the way. So consequences comes at the end of all that. Often we get there though, so here's a formula for doing that. You have a choice. You can take turns and cooperate with your friend and play until your friend has to leave, or you can continue to argue and fight and your friend will leave now. Another example for older kids. You can drive the car and bring it home filled up with gas and drive it again tomorrow. Or you can bring the car home empty and you will not drive the car for 2 weeks. The second part of this is the follow-through on the consequences. It's pretty much easy to say you won't drive the car or your friend's leaving now, but at that point when you set that limit, the child's going to start either complaining or whining or begging or screaming, and that's when it's important that we handle it in a way that they are left with the responsibility of their actions. One way to demonstrate this is through a book called Schubert Rants and Raves, and I write the Schubert series and the Schubert books to help you learn skills to deal with children. And in this one, Mrs. Bookbinder is going to demonstrate how to do this. So here's the setup of the book. Schubert forgets his permission slip. All the other kids are going on a field trip. She has pretty much said, if you forget your slip, you're not going. So here's where we are in the story. Schubert is not going on a field trip. He's pretty upset. Let's watch how she handles it in this book. She starts with, "Oh, Schubert, how disappointing for you. You were so excited about the field trip. You may not go without your permission slip. It's not safe. You can stay in the library or with Miss Carroll. Which is better for you?" Schubert did not answer. He turned to walk away. He felt his disappointment turn to anger, and he got so mad that he started ranting and raving and throwing a fit. Mrs. Bookbinder felt him and heard Schubert's anger. She immediately took a breath and said, "Oh, Schubert, this is so disappointing. You were excited about going and now you can't. It seems like you're having a difficult time with all those feelings. You can handle this. It's hard, but you can do it. Breathe with me." Well, Schubert, like any other child, was not interested in breathing. He was getting madder and madder, and he did what most children did. I'm going to get my mother. She's going to come down to school, and she's going to rant and rave, and she'll break down these rules. So we see in the book Schubert's mom ranting and raving in Schubert's mind to break down the rules. Mrs. Bookbinder continues with leaving Schubert with the responsibility of his actions by offering empathy. She says, "It's hard when things seem out of your control. You seem so angry. You don't know what to do with all those feelings. You can handle this. Breathe with me." Schubert wasn't going to buy that either. This time he's bringing the President of the United States in here to make sure he goes on this field trip. This is representing times in our life when children go, "I hate you. Daddy would let me go." This also represents times in our lives when children would go, "I'll be good. Please let me do it this one time. I won't ever do this again." So this president is kind of a metaphor for all those ways children try to make this our problem. And here's what Mrs. Bookbinder does. She says, she turns to all the kids in the class. She says, school family, Schubert needs our help. He forgot his permission slip and will not be going on the field trip. He feels so angry and having trouble handling such a big disappointment. Let's all wish him well. So what the class did was take a deep breath and wished him well. By doing this, it cut his frustration level in half so that his feelings started to be manageable, and Schubert's anger began to fade. He now feels sadness. Tears come to his eyes. He wishes he had remembered his permission slip. After a minute, Schubert chooses to spend the day in the library. As he walks to the library, he begins to sing a song. I ran it and raved most of the day to break down the rules and get my way. I'm breathing now. I won't fight anymore. Next time I'm going to tape the field trip slip to the door. By Mrs. Bookbinder offering empathy to the, let's just say, mouth we get from children once a limit is set, she was able to leave Schubert with the responsibility of his actions so he could reflect upon what he's done, instead of allowing Schubert to make it the teacher's fault for being so mean, or making it the teacher's fault for not understanding it was just a teensy-weensy mistake he'd never make again. I encourage you to practice using your logical consequences when you have exhausted your list of other techniques. Use them, one, set them up so that the children see there is a positive action, a positive consequence, a negative action to a negative consequence, and also use empathy at the end. The hardest part about consequences is not so much setting them up, it's the follow-through. My hope for you is that, and my hope for me, is that we each can use Miss Bookbinder as a model, offer empathy for children when they make poor choices. And in doing so, they can take responsibility for their actions and know that their life is a result of inside choices instead of outside forces. Until next time, I wish you well.